Hello guys, and welcome back to another very long overdue episode of South Motor Machine. And in this episode we're actually going to be dedicating it to the star of the channel, the L322. Shh, P38, I didn't say that. Because I felt like it had been such a long time since we'd actually dedicated a video to this car, really what kicked off my channel again a few years back. So yeah, the old L322 is in need of a bit of TLC, and we've got plenty to be getting on with, so why don't we get cracking? There's always that famous saying, isn't there, that the cobbler's children always have the worst shoes. And I think for me, in my case, as somebody that's happy to work on cars and knows my way around a spanner, my car, my L322 is a pretty good example of that lately. I've been working on a lot of other people's cars, my missus' car, her friends' cars, because I get recommended to her friends without my knowledge, usually, that I can service a car on the cheap. And also recently some other L322s I've been working on, leaving not much time for me to work on my own L322. So there's a few little bits and pieces that have been building up that I would like to try and sort out and give her a bit of TLC. Another factor that has reduced my willingness to get out here and work on the L322 is, as always, the Irish weather. Hasn't been great. It's been pretty cold and pretty wet for the last 3-4 months. I did think that we were going to be having a garage fairly soon. That's been put back a little bit on the timeline now, but we are still going to hopefully be getting there soon. So yeah, with the prospect of the garage on the horizon, I was even less kind of motivated, let's say, to get out here and work on the cars. It's not always the easiest when the weather isn't as nice as it is today. But anyway, I'm going to crack on with the first job on the list, which is an oil change, which I'm quite overdue on. Not by Land Rover's interval, but by my own interval. I've gone over a little bit this time. So yeah, she's definitely due a oil change, and we're going to do that first. You will have seen me do this before if you've watched the channel for a while, so I'm just going to do this fairly quickly and just mention a couple of key points, but yeah, we'll move on to something else quite quickly. So yeah, for the last 18 months, 2 years, I've been running 5W40 oil in my L322. This time we're going for a Total Energies Quartz 9000 5W40. Just happened to be what I could get from my supplier for a good price. And this would not meet Land Rover's original spec for this engine, which I think was a C1 or a C3, which is a low SAPS oil, which would be specified for this car because it has or had a DPF. That isn't a concern on my car anymore, let's say. Let's go no further down into that topic. As an aside, I have actually made a video on that topic if you'd like to watch it. So yeah, 5W40, slightly thicker when it's up to temperature, but during winter conditions or when it's cold, same as the 5W30 that's specified by Land Rover, so no problems there. And the A3 B4 ACEA spec basically means it has more of those SAPS components in the oil, which do things like reduce sludging, reduce the engine oil from breaking down, things like that, all good things. So yeah, this is what we're going to be putting in. Got a new oil filter, and we're going to be using our Katsu Curry oil extractor unit that I've showed you guys before. So yeah, let's get the engine warmed up and then I'll start extracting some oil. Four degrees, nice and chilly. So while the old TDV8 chunters away and warms itself up, I'm going to see if we can do anything to sort this out. As you guys might have seen if you follow me on Instagram, link below if you haven't already followed me on there. It's not too impressive, but I do post stuff from time to time. My wing mirror on the Range Rover got taken out by a suicidal Renault van driver. It completely came onto my side of the road. Now thankfully one of you guys saw that post on Instagram, a guy by the name of Andrew, and amazingly Andrew actually offered to send me out 2 used wing mirrors to fit this car. One for this side, and he actually sent me one for the other side as well. This is the one that he sent me, which, as you can see, isn't looking completely complete. This damage, it's missing the back cover, is as a result of Storm Aowen, which we had recently. So the Range Rover was parked here, we had the storm come through, which was, as you guys might have seen on BBC News in the UK, and RTE here in Ireland, a record-breaking storm. It came through, and I think we saw gusts of 180 kilometers an hour, or well over 100 miles an hour. And what it decided to do was take the back off this wing mirror, and just it's absolutely gone now. I've got no clue where it is. I'm going to have to ask the cows over the road if they've seen it, because I think that's the direction it would have been going in. But anyway, I want to say a big thanks to Andrew for sending me these over, and I'm going to put a link to his social media page. He's an agri restorer slash welder fabricator
and he's got a business doing that. So I'm going to put a link to his Instagram. You guys, if you need anything in the UK, I think he's based in the northeast of England, regarding fabrication, restoration, go and check out his page. Because yeah, he saved me here, because trying to find parts for this car, specifically used parts, is not easy here in Ireland. So yeah, big thanks to Andrew for sending those over. But anyway, yeah, while she warms up, I'm going to see if I can do anything about this by refitting the cover from my old wing mirror, which I still happen to have, and somehow this part survived the suicidal van driver. So yeah, we'll see if we can get this clipped on. It looks like the previous cover for this wing mirror might have been held on with a bit of glue, gob sort of stuff, silicone-y type builder stuff. So that's probably the reason why it's no longer with us. But anyway, this cover seems to have all of its clips in place, so hopefully we can just get it to go back where it should be. There we go, that feels better. Annoyingly, my one isn't as clean and shiny as the one that flew away. I've got a bit of lacquer peel on top here and a few scuffs and marks, but maybe at some point we'll get round to painting it again. Anyway, that'll do for now. We're getting there on temperature now. What I'm just going to do to make it a little bit easier with the suction pump at the front there, I'm just going to drop the suspension down to access mode, just to give us a little bit more easy access to the front. Now this oil suction pump you guys have seen me use before, it's just about big enough to take the full 8.5-9 litres that is in the 4.4 TDV8 here, but it works an absolute treat. The only thing that it does need is a slightly longer pipe. That's the reason I lowered the suspension down on the ranges to get this as high as I can, but I still might need to prop this up on something, so I might just go and find something I can stick it on top of. There we go. That should work quite nicely. Might have to just hold it in place. So the way that I found this worked quite well before is that this rubbery end fits into the top of the pump like that, and then this open plastic end actually fits nicely onto the top of the suction tube. I'll just bring you for a closer look so you can see where that is. So yeah, pipe goes from the top of the suction pump down, and then on the 4.4 TDV8 at least, we've got this suction tube just down here. It has this cap on the end of it which you just need to twist off, connect your pipe, and then we should need to just start pumping to suck all of our oil out. There is one important thing that I've got to do though before we get to the pumping stage, which involves taking this off so that we can access the oil filter. Now we don't have to take the oil filter out and change it just yet, but all we have to do is loosen it a few turns just to enable the oil filter housing to drain down into the sump. So that means that when we pump out all of our oil, we're going to get as much oil out as we possibly can, including the stuff that's in this oil filter. So I'll find the correct tool for that and do it now. That is the 36mm socket on there, but it has a 3/4 inch drive, and I don't have any ratchets for that, so still as it is. So this just needs to come up enough to allow that to drain, which I think should be there. And now, I should be able to start pumping away. Here it comes. There we go. It's flowing away nicely there. Just give it another pump every now and again. You don't want to put too much suction on the system, but yeah, you can hear it flowing quite nicely. And this is a hell of a lot easier than trying to scrabble around underneath and take off that quick connector plug, because there is no sump plug on the 4.4 TDV8. So this or taking off that plug really are your only options. And I know there will be comments down below saying, oh, but you didn't go underneath and pull off that pipe, so there's going to be a little bit of oil left in the turbo drain. I know that, I'm well aware of that. the fact is that's probably about 50 millilitres of oil, maybe 100 if we're pushing it, compared to the fact that we're changing about 8.5 or 9 litres of oil and putting all that fresh back in again. It's not going to do any harm. Yes, if you're doing an absolutely complete job, you can pull that off, and you can even pull the sump off if you want and clean that out. But for me, just changing this oil using the pumping method, which is what Land Rover recommends in their manual, is plenty enough for me. So now we've gotten to the bottom of our sump, got most of the oil out, as much as we can get. You should be able to hear when you start pumping, or when you continue pumping, a kind of a gurgling, slurping sound at the bottom of the sump. And that's because there's no more oil down there. So you can sit and let it drain for a bit longer if you like, and then give it another couple of pumps just to make sure you've got all of that drainage down after the engine's been running. But that's pretty much it in terms of how much oil we're going to get out of this engine. So we'll disconnect our pipe and get on with changing the oil filter. Okay, so nice grimy oil filter. And our new replacement is a Marla, however you want to say it. These always come with the O-rings that you need. So with our new O-ring installed, put a nice bit of oil on there, and we'll pop our filter in and then stick it back in place. Like that. Nice bit of oil on the O-ring. Screw it back into place. So you just want to go down all the way until it stops like that. Make sure you feel at the bottom of the filter where it meets the oil filter housing, just to make sure it's closed the gap fully. There's no gap there. Just to make sure it's gone down far and it hasn't bitten the O-ring and done something weird. And then you want to take your torque wrench and just give it a tiniest of tiny nips just to get it fully seated. Nothing more than that, just to make sure it's not kind of come off. And there we go, happy days. So at this point we can open up our first bottle of 5W40 and throw those 5 litres straight in there. See if we can do this without a funnel. So we can hear the binman finally arrived in the background there, you can probably hear them. What I was going to say is, this is one of those jobs where if you're new to working on cars and you haven't worked on cars before, if you've got one of these Range Rovers and you want to start doing more work yourself, this should probably be the first job that you tackle. It's really simple. When you're using a pump like I've got there, it's very clean as well. You don't need too many tools. And it's one of those jobs where you'll get a lot of satisfaction from knowing you've saved money from taking it to a dealer, or even an independent garage. You'll get satisfaction from knowing you've done it yourself as well. And then once you're comfortable changing the oil and the oil filter on your Range Rover, that'll give you the confidence to move on to bigger, more challenging jobs, let's say. You might find, like me, that you really love it and you enjoy the feeling of being at one with your vehicle, knowing it inside out, being able to repair pretty much any problem that comes up with it. Or you might just completely hate it and never want to do it again, but you never know until you try it. So yeah, that'd be my advice. Anyway, that's the first 5 litres done. Let's get the second bottle open. So in this one, I'm just going to put about 3 litres in. So I think, from memory, it's normally about 8.5 litres for a pump and refill, or a suction pump and refill, I should say. So we'll just put about 3 litres in from this bottle, and then we'll start her up and let it run for a few minutes, stop it, and then check the level on the digital dash. Oh, so silky smooth sounding. You can't beat that fresh oil change diesel sound. She's like butter. Okay, now the car's been idling for a good 5-10 minutes. We're going to turn it off, let it sit for another 5-10 minutes, and then we're going to come back in here and check the oil level. So I've just been in and had a lovely BLT bacon sarnie whilst we've been waiting. So in order to check our oil level, what we're going to do is ignition on. We're going to pop the engine, the bonnet I should say, just so that it's open. Clear through all of the warning messages. And then we're going to go into the menu, service menu, oil level display. And it will either say engine level, oil level okay, or it will show you the level straight away. If it doesn't, if it says oil level not available, hit the cancel button twice, the cruise control cancel button twice with the bonnet popped open, and it should open it up. As it turns out, because I let it sit for long enough, it's giving us an oil level straight away, and it's showing 1 bar down below the max level. So it's saying engine level okay, 1 bar below max, that's pretty much perfect. So we're going to leave it exactly where it is. Happy days. So there's one more job to do on the oil change before we can call it a fully done job, and that's going to be to reset the service interval on the dash, because at the moment it's popping up and saying service due on the dash whenever I start the car. So for that we're going to need IID tool or any similarly decently spec'd OBD2 service tool. I have done 2 videos now on service tools, comparing them and reviewing a few different models, and I've got another video coming up soon with 3 or 4 new tools that we've not seen yet, so keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, if you've got an IID tool, you can definitely do it, and I'd say most of the decent kind of Land Rover based tools should be able to do it as well. Like your iCar Soft LRV2 can definitely reset the service interval. So we'll plug him in. We're going to head into service test, and I believe it's in instrument pack. Yeah, service interval reset. Proceed with this routine. Clearing faults. Operation succeed. Happy days. So that's all you need to do for that. Before we... I'm just going to read the fault codes as well, just for the fun of it, whilst I've got it connected. It has just cleared the faults, so it'll only pick up anything that's live and happening, and that's just my typical driver's seat fault. That's fine, that's always there. That's only because I replaced the seats when I very first got the car after the first few months, and the seat that I replaced it with has a different VIN number basically attached to its module, so the car doesn't recognise it. So it's a stupid fault code, but there you go. Anyway, that'll do us for now. Let's crack on with something else. One thing I'm going to do is just pop open our roof tent for the first time in a few months. The last time we used this is back in September, and I have been occasionally popping it open because this type of tent, the hard shell tent, has a really nasty habit, particularly in places like Ireland where it's very damp and we have high humidity the whole time. It has a really bad habit of gathering condensation inside. It's not leaking, but it does get moist inside, and I can already see it's got a little bit of mould that needs to be sorted out. So yeah, we'll give them a bit of an air out, and I'm probably going to have to get a bit scrubby with the old bleach or something. Not nice.
There we go, all cleaned up. Car is looking a lot better. It's not perfect, it never has been this car, but it looks a lot better when it's clean. So as you guys will see, there are a few changes that have been made to the car since the last time this car was featured in a video. Not least the big 9-inch aux beam 360 Pro spotlights on the front. Previously I had the 7-inch version. Aux beam reached out again and sent me over these 9-inch ones. Initially I thought they would be a bit too big, but now they're on the car, I think they suit it perfectly. I've also got these optional amber covers on them as well, which in the kind of bad weather conditions that we get here in the west of Ireland, a lot of rain and a lot of fog, these cut through the fog really nicely compared to the white light. They also match my amber WOW LED fog light replacements as well. We're at 83 Sport 2s. I've now been on the car for, I think I worked out, 37,000 miles. And whilst they've still got plenty of tread up here, they are starting to get towards the end of their life. Like the shoulders are starting to get quite low on the old tread as well. So they've been an amazing tyre. They've been absolutely awesome on-road, off-road, everything I've thrown at them. Nice and quiet, very comfortable, and never had a problem with them. So I'll be looking for a new tyre. Not exactly sure what I'm going to go for next, but quite possibly another set of Coopers. And then moving around to the back of the Range Rover, you might be able to see I still haven't been able to get round to sorting out my rusty tailgate. It's getting worse and worse. The Irish weather seems to just absolutely be tearing its way through this upper tailgate, and it's actually getting to the point now where there's actually almost a bit of a split appearing in this steel here. It's getting pretty bad. Thankfully though, I do have a replacement here that I can get ready to paint up and put back on again. And whilst we're talking about the P38, I do really need to get back onto this project. As soon as I get a good weekend free, I'm going to get back onto this, give it a good clean out and figure out where we are with it, because I really want to get this back on the road. It's really not that far away now. We did a lot of work on the brakes and the suspension system, loads of engine work we did, so there's really not too much more to do to it. But yeah, you guys have been asking me about P38 videos, and I'm going to try and get back on this project again this year, hopefully with the help of a garage, not in the not too distant future, but yeah, can't wait to see this one back on the road. And that's going to about wrap it up for this video, folks. I am really genuinely grateful for those of you that are sticking around the channel, waiting for my sometimes sporadic uploads. I have an absolute mountain of backlog stuff that I need to either review, fit, or otherwise film for the channel. And as I mentioned before, I am hoping, with all my fingers and toes crossed, that I'm going to be able to make an announcement about the future Sam's Motor and Machine garage and all of the exciting content that will empower me to create. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this little update. Check out my Instagram and the rest of the videos on the channel if you want to see some more right now. But until next time, cheers for watching, and I'll see you soon.